very hot over there. Okay, nice. St. Augustine, Florida, nice. All right, play one over on this side. Atlanta. And Boston. All right, well, welcome aboard, everyone. Glad to have everyone from all over the U.S. Right now, we're cruising down our slipway. Fisherman's and or Chandler's Wharf on the left, Long Wharf on our right. DeMo's coming up. I'll tell a story about that later on, but pretty soon, Captain Chuck here is going to do a one long blast on the horn. That'll let everyone know we're coming out to play in the bay. So if you have sensitive ears, hold on. Here we go, folks. We're coming out into the Fore River. That's F-O-R-E. The Fore River separates the city of Portland to our stern from the city of South Portland across the way. And what connects the two cities is a drawbridge, really only open when you're trying to get to work or when you're late for supper. So you can see it right over there. Opens for the largest oil tankers in the world. So it's over there. Also, do want to mention the Coast Guard buoy tender station off in the distance. You can see one buoy tender. That is the Marcus Hannon. That's all the buoys from here
Lean
to
forwards.
Boston,
Support your,
Massachusetts, folks.
raise
So
your
that
foot with your...
buoy tender is 175 feet in length, has a 24-person crew, and it always looks like it's Christmas over there because you can see those red and white, or excuse me, red and green buoys right over there. Over on our left-hand side, though, I do want to mention a couple things coming up. Some of them are these beautiful super yachts. So you can see Moon Shadow right here. Also Summer Love. What great names. But there was one cruise ship a couple days ago that was in here. To charter her for 1 week was $850K. It was worth over $200 million. Yeah, so just think about that. When the storm comes, they all shake in their pants. You're like, oh, what do we do with our giant super yacht in that weather? But I also want to mention a couple things coming out over here. One is Casablanca Cruises. They're backing out stern first. Another is Luke's Lobster over on Portland Pier. There are two lobster boats docked over there. It has those orange buoys. So that's a working lobster pound. So that serves incredibly fresh seafood because the lobstermen will offload their catch and then you'll eat it right from that lobster pound. Delicious. Another thing I do want to mention is Casco Bay Lines coming up over on the left-hand side. They're the longest continuously running ferry service in America. They've been running for over, 140 years. All right, folks, so who likes Amazon Prime? We all like Amazon Prime, yes. So do I. So, and so do Islanders. They can get up to 400 packages per 1 day on one island. So they get all their freight, all their mail, and themselves out there via Casco Bay Lines. And again, they've been running for so long, haven't missed a day. They go in the winter times. If you need a big package delivered, that's how you get it out there. So the very closest to us, that's actually Mashigon too, and she services exclusively Peaks Island. So if you've ever been there, only takes around 20 minutes to get out there. Very convenient. Over on our right-hand side, though, you can see the South Portland Tank Farm. I like to joke that this has melted butter for all our lobster rolls. But it actually doesn't. It has home heating oil, gasoline, kerosene, that type of product, because it's freezing here in the Maine winter. Ask me now if you think I love living in Maine, and the answer is yes. But ask me in the dead of winter when it's February and I'm slipping down my driveway, the answer might be different. So it's very cold here in winter, but what's actually most important is not the tanks themselves, but the land on which they sit. So during World War II, this was the site of an emergency shipyard used for the building and construction of Liberty-class cargo ships. And they said these ships would bring liberty to Europe. They carried everything from bullets to beans to soldiers for that war effort. So there were actually 6 shipways that ran from the land to the sea. So it only took these ships around 45 days to get all welded together. They had a large workforce here in the east and west yards. So you can see this is where the west yard would be. There's a little boom in the water to contain any oil spills that happen. And off on the right-hand side, coming up here, you can see a long breakwater. It's a big stone structure right by that water, over 1,000 feet roughly in length. And at the end of the breakwater, talk more about the people who worked on Liberty ships. Most of them were actually merchant mariners. So very hard-working men going off to sea.
When were we there? Yesterday?
So of the 33,000 men and women who worked on Liberty ships at the time, around 3,000 of them were actually women. So Rosie the Riveter, Wendy the Welder, those iconic figures would have been right here.
Rosie the Riveter.
At home in this east and west yard of the New England Shipbuilding Corporation.
My Rosie the Riveter. Don't press it around there. I told you don't press it down there because if you...
Inside, you can see some small little sailboats. So they're moving around. That's actually Sail Maine. They're a non-profit that teaches young children how to sail right here in the Casco Bay. You can also see the first fortress of our tour coming up on the left-hand side. So that actually looks like a prison, but it's not. Its name is Fort Gorges. So that's Gorges. And she was built during the waning years of the Civil War. Actually never saw any battles. However, you can still go out and visit if you want to. Has anyone been to the Holy Donut? Yes. Yeah, I love the Holy Donut, right? Is the best one Hi-Fi Donuts or Holy Donut? I'm not sure. The Hi-Fi one is a little bit up on the hill. But to me, this fortress looks like a donut because the center is actually hollow. So you can go out there, visit the fortress, walk around in that hollow space, and then up around the sides. And then the chia cut like top or glaze on that donut is actually wild seed roses and poison ivy. So bring your calamine lotion if you want to go out and visit. Gets a little itchy up there. But again, now's a good time to take a picture of this fort with the Diamond Islands in the background. Over here on our right-hand side, though, I don't want to miss this. This is a large oil tanker known as the Nordic Space. She's docked in the Portland pipeline here. And what she's doing is offloading oil. During World War II, this pipeline was so important because German U-boats were sinking Canadian oil tankers off the coast of Canada. This was devastating for the Canadian coastline. So we as Maine and as Portland, as the most northern port on the eastern seaboard, we were actually able to sequester oil in Portland and send it via 236-mile-long pipeline all the way to Canada. So behind Nordic Space, you'll be able to see that pipeline off in the distance. That stretches again 236 miles from Montreal, Canada. Nordic Space right here is around 900 feet in length. She actually steamed right in here yesterday. She needed a 3-tugboat assist to even get her to the docks. So she doesn't have a lot of maneuverability, and she's constricted in her maneuverability because of her large draft. So you can see she's docked over there. Probably will be here for a couple more days getting everything offloaded. But right next door you can see this small little marina and then of course a community college. SMCC or Southern Maine Community College. But the best part about this space is that it has a famous resident boat. And that is the second lighthouse of our tour. It's known as Spring Point Ledge Light, and she was built in 1897. It is a caisson-style or spark-plug-style lighthouse. So you can see, usually these caissons are made out of all cast iron. However, this one is actually brick-painted white. And in the lantern color, you can see some different colored panes of glass. This would help mariners with nighttime navigation, depending on the angle at which you sail right into Spring Point Ledge Light. You see the color. If it was red, it was a dangerous sign that you were headed too close and ran the risk of going aground here. So mariners had a saying that went like this to help them remember this. If you see white, you're all right. But if you see red, you're dead. Yeah, aggressive. Today it looks like there are people up in that lighthouse. So I think National Lighthouse Day might be coming up here, so they might be checking it out. Sometimes you can go visit these iconic lighthouses. There's a little way to get up there on the other side, I do believe. But it's a great place to go fishing. You can see that giant breakwater was built in 1951 to protect the Portland pipeline here from any oncoming wake action. So this pier is about 1,000 feet in length, or the breakwater, I should say. And towards the shore of the breakwater, you can see what remains of Lighthouse Island on the left-hand side. So you can see that she's raised up quite a bit with her one row of cannon ports. So she was trying to hit the mast and rigging of oncoming vessels. And the cross-action fire that this produced was known as raking fire. So no ships were ever sunk here in this area. We were heavily fortified with Fort Forges to our stern. And then of course these other two large forts that were very intimidating. So we did a good job at protecting the Portland harbor. Yeah. But enough about warfare and war. Has anyone been swimming yet this summer in Maine? Everyone's looking at me like I'm crazy. Yeah, so I've been a couple times on a couple charters here this summer, but really nothing big. If you want to go swimming, I'd highly recommend this beach off to our right-hand side. It's known as Willard Beach. It's a white sandy beach, very rare here in the state of Maine. If you stretched out our whole coastline, you'd get 3,500 miles, but of that mileage, only around 75 is that white sandy beach. So it's right off to the right-hand side. People also like to say this water is incredibly cold, and that is because the Labrador Current comes in, it's like a big arm, and then sweeps right back out. So it keeps the water a chilly 55 degrees, even on the hottest days of summer. So people like to call it a knee-high beach, because you'll just go into your knees and then you'll run out like a scared child. So you can see the beach right over there. Also a really good place, and used to be an influential fishing ground, because the water is very deep in this area, so you see oftentimes lobster boats coming in and out of Willard Beach actually to fish, because even at low tide you still have incredibly deep water. Now you can see all these sailboats on these public moorings, so people love to get on their sailboats over here in South Portland. So I'm just making sure it's still there, hasn't moved. Alright, so over on our left-hand side, you can see another island. It's right now 9 o'clock. It is a private summer-only island for 50 lucky summer families. You actually have to know someone or be invited out to go to Cushing Island. You can't just show up. If you did, they might not kick you off the island, but they would politely tell you to leave. Again, because it is for those private 50 families. So again, only open May through October. After October, everyone will leave this island and go back to town, really. So it makes it special. There's only one year-round caretaker that stays behind. Has anyone seen The Shining? Yeah, it's like that one guy who just stays behind, a little bit creepy. But people say he's actually a really nice guy. And he spends a lot of time, taking care of the island. He gets his own boat as well as his own ski equipment to maintain the island. So it's a pretty great job. Cushing Island over there is about a mile long and a quarter-mile wide. So it's not that large here in Casco Bay, but it does have some pretty interesting history. We're going to get closer to the island later on, so we'll be able to talk about it and see some of the houses up close in a couple moments here. But over on our right-hand side, we're making our way from the city of South Portland into the town of Cape Elizabeth. And as you can see, these homes are getting bigger and grander as we make our way to Portland Headlights. So I like to say that dreaming is free. Pick out the one that you want to own with your friends and family. They are going to be getting bigger as we get closer to Portland Headlights. So maybe don't jump the gun too quickly. But they go from roughly $1.5 to $11+ million. Yeah, so I'm still saving up for that for like 10 more lifetimes. So you can see those on the cliff face over here. Everything off to your right-hand side, this is all the mainland. And then everything off to your left-hand side, these are all the inner islands of Casco Bay. So we'll be traveling amongst those islands later on. But a little bit more about this mainland. When Captain John Smith was traveling here in the early 1600s, he actually got some help from some Native American guides. And afterwards he went back to England and he talked to King Charles. He asked him You can rename any of these land or the waterways or islands after an English name if it so pleases you. I don't know if that was the right or wrong decision, but this land eventually got named after King Charles's sister, Elizabeth of Bohemia. So that's how we get the name Cape Elizabeth. So you can see Cape Elizabeth is really beautiful. Does anyone do any road race running? Runners at all? You're still looking at me like you'd rather have a donut instead. Well, same. Yeah, same here. You're on vacation, right? Yeah, so there was a famous road race runner over here named Joan Benoit Samuelson. She actually ran the Olympic long-distance marathon gold time in the summer of the 1983 Olympics. So she was a really good runner. She grew up here, and you could often see her running during this area or along the shore of Cape Elizabeth here. For any lobster buoys in the water and wildlife. So you can sometimes see the lobster buoys in the water. It's looking a little sparse over here. It's Sunday, so a lot of lobstermen they actually can't fish really heavily on Sunday, so they're not in the water. But sometimes you'll be able to see the lobster pot buoys. They look kind of like a football or a shiny skittle in the water, and every buoy is different in its color pattern. It's kind of like a lobsterman signature. Everyone has their own specific color scheme. Alright, so right now, folks, I do want to play a little game with you, and it is Find My Favorite House, or Find My House. And if you can find it, we can all have cocktails later today at it. So it'll be off on the right-hand side. I'll give you maybe about a minute or two to find it, a little less than that. But again, off on the mainland side, if you see something, say something, and maybe you've spotted it. You gotta scream. Okay, wow, someone was the closest people to me actually may have found my dream house or my second home. It's actually the one that's on the cliff face on the right-hand side. So it's dangling off that cliff face via 3 steel I-beams. So that's how it actually does not fall off into the water. But the most important feature of this home is that the center wraparound porch on the lower deck is made out of clear plexiglass, so you can see the water crashing below. Just imagine that. Yeah, so I think that's pretty incredible. You can see it's kind of shiny looking today. I went for $3 to $4 million a couple years ago. So when you're having your evening cocktail or your morning coffee, you can stare out at the water below. You can see that little beach right next door is known as Casino Beach, so they get to take advantage of that as well. Over on the right-hand side, you can see the end of these beautiful homes right here. One of my favorite is actually this Italian-style one with the red roof and white exterior. I just love that one as well. But yeah, we're coming up on a cove known as Ship's Cove, S-H-I-P, with a P at the end. I always like to really enunciate that so it doesn't get confused with other words. But it's right near Fort Williams Parkland. And this park was built in the late 1800s, constantly modified throughout World War II, and in 1960. So as a result, it's still active today. Off in the distance on the right-hand side, you can actually see a machine gunner's nest right in that cliff face over there. So all these cliffs you can walk around on, so it makes it really easy and convenient to look out at Casco Bay and Cushing's Island, as well as others. So right now you can see Ship's Cove cars coming in and out. If you want to, you can visit Portland Headlight by ferry, by trolley, pardon me. So you can see those cars over there, people putting their feet in the water. But off on our right-hand side, we are coming up to one of the most famous, or if not the most famous lighthouse in the world. That is, of course, Portland Headlight. Why we all chose to take this tour today. So whip out your phone or your camera to keep us on top. I am keeping score. Make a little check mark for every photo I see taken over by the stack of Islander. So keep those photos coming. Also, just remember to keep your cameras and anything you're holding inside the rail of the boat. We have a 0% drop rate, a 0% retrieval rate. However, today I might jump in after it. Sorry to Bailey and Captain Chuck. So off on our right-hand side, we do see Portland Headlight, and you can hear her as well. You can hear that foghorn. So this lighthouse, you can see that the lower two-thirds of the lighthouse are a little bit more rough around the edges. And that's because when she was commissioned to be built, we didn't have a lot of funds. Roughly $1,500 to get the whole thing squared away. And as a result, again, that lower two-thirds is more rough above the collar. You can see it's a little smoother, and that's because it's spray painted white. In the Lantern Gallery, usually you can see the light opens at a 4-second rotation rate and can be seen 24 nautical miles out to sea. Today, however, I do believe, and for the past week or so, this lighthouse has been worked on, so it doesn't look like the light is active today. At the tippy top, you can see a ball with finial caps for 101 feet above sea level off. So as we swim around here, Captain Chuck's doing a good job of getting us close to the headlight. You can see all those people taking photos of us as we take photos of them. Islander is just the cutest boat, and she has a really old-fashioned look, kind of like a steamship. So everyone loves to take pictures of Islander. So we get to be on the best boat of this company. Sorry to the other two boats. You can see the headlights over there. That building right next to it is the keeper's quarters. So that's where the lighthouse keeper would live with his family.
Sorry.
As we're experiencing the wake, just make sure to be holding on or sitting down. Not to another person or a friend or spouse, but to an actually fixed object. Yeah, I see you people grasping. Alright, so right over there, we can also see these big waves crashing up against the headlight and those rocks. So this was the site of a big shipwreck. It was 1886. It was a dark and stormy night. Christmas Eve, Captain Strout, his wife Mary, were looking out from their lighthouse at the seas, and they see a 3-masted schooner or bark come in, and they're like, oh my gosh. The iconic picture of the lighthouse and the rocks and the waves. And as Captain Chuck spins the boat, just be aware of where you're standing and hold on as we spin around here. So you can see a lighthouse off in the distance at around 1 o'clock. That's known as Cape Elizabeth 2 lights. Only one of those 2 lights is active today. Straight to the side, you can see the open North Atlantic, the open ocean, the Gulf of Maine. Can anyone see land way off in the distance over there? Yes, you can. You have terrific eyesight because that's the tip of Portugal, roughly 3,500 miles away. Getting a little bit rolly here. We're listing a little, so just hold on as we finish our turn. more things. One is the fourth lighthouse of our tour. It's known as Ram Island Ledge Light, and she was built in 19 all granite. It would be very difficult to live here as a lighthouse keeper. You would have to contend with the waves, so they would strike up against the side of that tower and hit it like a bell ringing in the night. So if you were trying to get sleep, you would have to really make sure that you had the earplugs in, because that lighthouse would be very loud. And of course, folks, there's no Target, there's no Walmart out there. You would have to get all your food on the mainland and then make your way out to the lighthouse. So that would also make it quite difficult. So this lighthouse built after the famous transatlantic steamer, the Californian, went aground on these ledges. So it took her 6 weeks for someone to come and rescue that vessel off those rocks. So you can still see some of the waves crashing up on those smaller rocks over there. And then right next door you can see another island known as Ram Island Ledge, just Ram Island, pardon me. So can anyone guess why they would bring all their livestock in colonial days out to graze on this island? No predators, 1 for 3. Yes, no one can steal them, they can't run away, so no fences would need to be built. And then really the last one, the off-stage one, is free food, right? Because they would have all that vegetation out there so that you could just have your livestock right out there. They could eat all that grass, and then all the rainwater could provide that rain source in the small puddles on the islands. So it was an incredibly convenient thing to do. Off in the distance, right next to Ram Island, we have a couple more islands. There is, in order, Jewel Island, Cliff Island, and then Hope One with the red house on it. And we actually have a deckhand in this company who lived out on Hope One for a couple of years. She actually tended the horses that lived out there. So she would go out there on a Monday, come back on a Friday, and during that work week spend her overnight on the island taking care of the horse stable. So she did a really interesting job of kind of like the year-round caretaker on Cushing. She would just stay out there and tend to those island homes and horses. I'm just going to grab my water.
Because if it's winter, it will be very cold, so that's why they go to Maine.
Alright, so over on our right-hand side, we're coming up to Cushing Island, that lucky summer island for those 50 summer families. So now we're going to get to see this island more up close. So it was bought by a man named Lemuel Cushing in 1859, and he wanted to build a summer resort on this island. So what he did is he bought the island, named it after himself, and then built what was known as the Ottawa House. It was multiple stories tall and made out of wood, right? Like a lot of the homes and hotels in the area, wood was the major building source because we have forests here in Maine. So it's cheap and easy to do so. So it was multiple stories tall, but unfortunately because it was made out of wood, it was prone to fire. It actually burned down twice, in 1888 and then again in 1917. So I can't show you a resort, however there is one thing that does remain from this era, and it is the small gazebo off to the right-hand side. So that little gazebo is one of 3 and designed by a man named Frederick Law Olmsted. He actually designed Central Park in New York City. So that's how this little gazebo got to be on the island. Again, there are 2 more on the island, so you can look out for them as well. Also, right in this area, I just want to mention it. I can see a bunch of different lobster pot buoys in the water. It's easier to see them in this protected area of the cove right here, so not directly in the main shipping channel. So I can see many different colors, so that means many different fishermen are coming over right here to Cushing Island, so that means it's a lucrative fishing spot. So I love lobstering, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it later on, but I do want to mention the homes right over here on this section of Cushing Island. And the one I want to have you guys look out for is the one coming up. It has a brown exterior, a green roof, and then white trim. So it was owned by a man named Charles M. Hayes. And Mr. Hayes was a railroad tycoon. He owned a railroad stretching all the way from Montreal, Canada to Portland, Maine. Again, right here at around 1 o'clock. And he went to Europe on a railroad convention, trying to get more funds and resources for his expansion of his railroad with his family. And he booked passageway home on a brand new transatlantic liner. Can anyone think of the name of this liner? Yes, unfortunately it was the RMS Titanic. He was actually last seen helping women and children aboard life rafts. But this is a happy story because his wife and daughter actually did make it back. So now 96 descendants of Mr. Charles M. Hayes co-own this cottage together. And actually recently I saw people waving from this property. So they are there during the summer months, which I just love. You can actually see where the Cushing Islanders get off to go to this island. There's a big pier right here. So they are not serviced by Casco Bay Line, so you can't take the ferry boat out to this island. It's actually a contracted lobster boat known as the St. Croix. And we had a captain last year who captained the St. Croix, but it's a little lobster boat with a white hull around 45 feet in length that'll just slide up here, deposit the Cliff Islanders onto the island, and then it'll leave. So, very interesting little spot. You might be able to see the second gazebo off to the right as well. Alright, so over on the left-hand side, as we make our way into the islands of Casco Bay, you can see that large tanker and then the big breakwater off on the way far away section, I guess I would say, on the left. So that breakwater again is 1,000 feet in length, and it really does stick out into the main shipping channel. So you can see that that tanker is almost that complete length of the breakwater. So again, 900 feet. So if you guys like football, that is multiple football fields strung together to make that big tanker over there. Also on our left-hand side, you can still see Willard Beach off in the distance. And then coming up towards the front of the boat on the left at around 11 o'clock, we're coming up to another island. It's known as House Island. So we saw this island earlier on when I was talking about Fort Preble and Fort Scammell and that rake and fire. So you can see it more closely now, and you can see the east bastion of Fort Scammell. So the west just kind of left our field of view, so you can see the east one right there. So these bastions are actually connected via an underground labyrinth. You can get from one side to the other, and you can just make your way through, although it is not open to the public, I do believe. You can also see some yurts right on top of that fortress. So those yurts are for a fancy glamping camping site. That's going to happen next year, and it's going to be called Fortland. Not like Portland, but Fort. Fortland kind of sounds like a movie, like Homeland, but it's not. Hopefully you'll be able to make your way out from South Portland over by Buck Lake to this big fort. So as we get a little closer, you'll see that it has 2 rows of cannon ports, which distinguishes it from the other bastion of Fort Scammell. It gets very cold in there during the winter, only around 55 degrees on the hottest days of summer. So not much warmer than the water below. This fortress actually named after Alexander Scammell. He was George Washington's best friend. And one of I do want to talk about its alternate history. So it has two halves with two histories, as another deckhand Pete likes to say. So on this other half of House Island, you can see a couple of homes. And these homes actually played a critical role between 1907 and 1937, because this was considered the Ellis Island of the North. They processed over 1.2 million immigrants. You guys know that, so you can just walk back on and come back to Portland, even without a ticket. So Peaks Island is great. They do 16 trips in the summertime. So it's beginning of fall, the end of summer right now. So they're still going out a lot of times. It only costs $7.70 to get all the way out there. So it's easy to make your way out to Peaks for a day trip. It's easy island actually food out there too, so you don't have to worry about that at all. Over on our left-hand side, though, you can see a really nice view of the backside of Fort Georges, and then that big oil tanker, hard to miss that. And then coming up on the left at around 11 o'clock, you can see a casino, folks. But it's not for heavy gambling. It's actually built in, or was built in around 1907 by a man, or what's known as the Maine Island Realty Company. They wanted to lure people out to this island, Little Diamond, to purchase property. So what they did is they took them out via steamship, and then they wined and dined them over on Little Diamond Island over at that casino. And then they showed them around to all the summer homes, and within 30 days everything was sold. So it was a great idea. It was a popular thing to do. Who wouldn't want to own an island home? So you can see some of the homes on the island. My favorite one is actually the green one on that cliffside over there. Yeah, I love those cliffside homes. It's kind of stacked on the side of there pretty well. But right now we're in one of the most beautiful sections of Casco Bay. It's known as Diamond Pass. So we have Peaks over on the right, Little Diamond on our left, and we'll be making our way to Great Diamond Island. But once these islands were actually known as the Hog Islands, right over here for farming. But once people decided to live on these islands, they wanted to change the name, right? They didn't want to live on a hog island. So they wanted to live on a big shiny diamond instead. So they changed that name for us right now. But again, this is the entrance to Casco Bay, considered the gateway to the Calendar Islands. So Casco Bay stretches out 18 miles ahead of us. So if you have time, explore some of the other islands around here. I do want to mention a couple things coming up to the left-hand side, but before we do, when Captain John Smith again was traveling here, he said, it seems like there is an island for every day of the year, so that's why we're known as the Calendar Island region. So fun fact for you there. On the left-hand side coming up, you'll see the old Coast Guard boat station, and sorry if I'm blocking people's views over here. So this Coast Guard boat station has a brown exterior and a white trim around the outside. So this is where the Coast Guard used to be located. Originally it was located over in South Portland. We saw it across the way earlier on. Now we can see where, now we can see where it used to be over here on this island. It's privately owned now. You can sometimes see kids jumping off those pilings during the warmer summer months. But it used to be a place where you could just get a nice bite to eat, maybe a hot dog, get some fuel for your lobster boat, and then head on your merry way. So now you can see that. You can also see a lobster boat right next door on the pier adjacent to that boat station. That's known as the Audrey B. Rand. So that lobsterman probably fishes all summer long. It's Sunday though, so they don't usually fish on Sundays. And so he might be working on his boat, staying home for the day, catching up on some sleep. 4 months ago when I started this tour, lots of traps on that dock, right? Now, they're probably all in the water. Lobstermen can have up to 800 traps here in the Gulf of Maine per one license. Also, I do want to mention this small little shipwreck off in the distance. There are only a couple pilings showing over there. So that is the shipwreck of McCoit 1. We saw, or we didn't actually see, McCoy 2. She's a Casco Bay Lines ferry boat. So this is McCoy 1, part of Casco Bay Lines as well. When they were ready to scrap this vessel, they decided it was cheaper to burn her to the waterline than to actually send her away. So there's actually an osprey nest on the top of there. But also you can see the end of Little Diamond Island and the beginning of Great Diamond Island. And they're connected via a little sandbar. At low tide, you can get a big trash truck from one side to the other. But during high tide, it's completely covered with water. So good mariners know to never cut the Diamond Islands because you don't want to get stuck. But someone did get stuck, unfortunately. It was a Jeep Wrangler. Yeah, they made it halfway across, and then, folks, the tide changed. It was so quick and dramatic that Jeep Wrangler actually got stuck out there, and it remained out there till it just flooded, and then it sank to the bottom. So now there's a wreck of a Jeep Wrangler down there as well. You can see this little landing known as Farm Landing for the only working farmhouse up at the top of the hill, the white building. We can also see a lobster boat over here, some other vessels as well. So, does anyone do any boating where they live or have access to a boat? Yeah, okay, 1, 2. Alright, so if you wanted to live out on Great Diamond Island, you'd have to find a way to keep your boat safe. So you'd probably have it at one of these moorings. And to get out there, what you would do is row a small little dinghy out to your big boat, then play in your big boat all day, and then come back, bring your big boat to the mooring, and then row your dinghy ashore. So over on our left-hand side, don't blink or you'll miss it. It's the smallest little lighthouse in Casco Bay. It's a bonus lighthouse. I threw it in just for you. Alright, that is Little Pocahontas Light over at around 10 o'clock. It's very cute. Yeah, so this little lighthouse illuminates Casco Bay, although she's just a lawn ornament. And we like to say that when that lighthouse is lit, the owners are too. And that is because it really is always lit. Even in the nighttime or in the wintertime, still lit, only 5 feet 4 inches tall. Someone asked me if it could be named Baby Bug Light. I don't know, you'd have to take it up with the owners. But right now we're gonna steam down Great Diamond Island and we'll look out for some wildlife in the waters and in the trees. I'm gonna go talk to Captain Chuck, see if I can spot anything for you, and I'll be back in a second.
He was like,
Yeah,
it's the air and the
rocking the boat, and also it's not getting enough rest. Where is some sleep apnea?
Alright, so I was just talking to Captain Chuck and we were looking for a mated pair of bald eagles. So I actually don't see the eagles, but I'll try and point out the nest. It's a little bit hard to see with this canopy on the Islander, but it's on the left-hand side. There's a rock that kind of looks like a jagged shark's tooth, and if you go straight up, you'll see the nest. But don't worry if you can't see it because there are no eagles home, unfortunately. Captain Chuck whispered under his breath, they probably got a divorce, so I thought that was kind of funny. But I again don't see them today, so you can still look out for them. Really, they will go out to fish early in the day and into the late afternoon, so it's not unusual for us not to see them. But you can again look for their white heads and little white feet as well, or white lower section. But we'll keep making our way down this island. Something that we can all see is actually Little Pumpkin Knob off to our right-hand side. It's this small island off of Evergreen Village on Peaks Island. Once the famous fishing spot of John Ford. He actually would come here to Little Pumpkin Knob to fish with his friends because he had family that lived out on Peaks Island. So you can see that. I just love Pumpkin Knob. I think it's a cute little island, has some funny stories about it. But it kind of looks like the knob of a pumpkin bobbing in the water during the month of October because the leaves will, just change into this beautiful orange color. You can already kind of see it happen, one little section of the island. So this is actually a good fishing spot for other people too. There's a little ramp and a little dock out there as well. But my question for you folks is, who wants to own their own private island?
No, who wouldn't?
One person I see in the red shirt, way in the back. All right. All right, so if you want to own your own island, maybe Overset is the one for you. It's off on the right-hand side at around, I'd say, 2 o'clock. It only has one home out there. Yeah, so that one home owned by, we think, an investment banker. He doesn't want any neighbors.
Cool.
So you can see the home. It's actually connected to another island in a little Great Diamond Island situation. It's a little sandbar that kind of connects it over there. But this island is known as Long Island because it is the Long Island of Maine. So who's from the other Long Island?
Oh, there's second back.
Yes, okay. Which one do you like better?
Oh,
This one. All right, I like this one too. It is around, has around 300 people that live here year-round. Cisco 3 is coming back from the outer islands of Casco Bay. So I can bet that they stopped at Long Island, so they're taking back people to Portland. But Long Island, you can wave to them. They may not wave back over on Cisco. All right, so Long Island is the home to many lobstermen. And I love lobstering. They make their living out there. They fish all year round. But in 1993, the taxes on their homes went up triple-fold. And they were so angry about this. They wanted to preserve their way of life, right? The fishing, the way of life. All their homes were on the waterfront, right? You need to be close to a fish house and all the other things that you need to go fishing. So if you can't be on the water, what's the point? So they decided, because their tax rates on their waterfront homes went up so high, to secede from the city of Portland.
Oh, wow.
So they did. And now this is the town of Long Island. So they have their own police system, their own fire station, their own fire boat, of course their own school and small government, local government structure. You can still go out to visit Long Island, and they have some of the lowest tax rates of any of the year-round islands in Casco Bay. So that's how they decided to do it. Casco Bay Lions can take you out there. It's pretty quiet though, so there's not a lot going on. It really is just a place to live and to fish. So you can see a lot of the lobster pot buoys in this section of water, just because Long Islanders love to fish. When I think of Long Island, I think of lobstering. So you can see the little buoys out there. But right now, Captain Chuck is going to navigate us into one of the most beautiful sections of Casco Bay. It's known as Diamond Cove, also known as Cocktail Cove. So we're getting closer to that time. If you want to get a drink, Bailey's right down on the bar ready to help you. But over here you can see little Diamond Cove. It is home to a really good restaurant known as the Diamond's Edge. It's 5 stars, delicious food. I have not been this summer, but I definitely want to go. So it's actually in the old quartermaster's house of what's known as Fort McKinley. So Fort McKinley was built for the Spanish-American War and then constantly updated throughout World War II as a joint training base for both the Army and the Navy. Now it is not in use anymore, but again, as part of the really good restaurant, the Diamond's Edge is in it, and then some other apartment buildings as well. So Casco Bay Lines can take you right out here. It's a popular sailing destination because you can tie up at one of these moorings and then take a little dinghy in to have some dinner. But over on the right-hand side, you can see this small island. On the day marker, that green number 9, you can see an osprey's nest.
Oh.
Some cormorants sitting right by us, those little black birds. So off in the distance, one of my favorite places to go in Casco Bay is actually Down Bay. You can see the rest of the Down Bay area on the right-hand side. So if you go straight in front of us or off to the right a little, you can see a little Shebig Island and then Little John right next door, or behind it I should say. And then you can make your way to the outer islands as well. So you can see part of Long Island right there. And as we turn the boat, you'll be able to see another animal-named island. So it's known as Cow Island. And it's off in the distance right here. And it has Fort Lyon, an anti-aircraft artillery unit base. So during World War II, it was the great fear that if the German Navy took over the Hussey Sound, which is all the water you can see off to our right-hand side, that they would lay siege to the rest of North America. So on the days leading up to D-Day, we had hundreds of boats coming in and out of the Hussey Sound to protect it. Fort Lyon was part of this over on Cow Island. You can see part of the fort off in the distance, another part of the fort on the other side of the island. Once, Cow Island was actually just an island with nothing on it, so they partied out here, had a lot of good times. Now it is home to Ripple Effect, which is a non-profit that teaches children how to sail here in Casco Bay. So sometimes you'll see little kids learning how to, actually sea kayak out here. You can see some more birds on that rock over there. But as we make our way around the island, towards the right-hand side, you can see a little cove, or the left-hand side, a little cove. Wow, that's the way to go, just swimming off that boat over there. You can also see all this waterway in front of us and towards the left. So this is known as the Flats of Casco Bay, very calm and serene, protected by the inner islands of Casco Bay. Right now, folks, I'm going to get a drink of water and let you enjoy the beautiful tour and then all this beautiful scenery, and I'll be back in around 10 minutes to talk about the next island. But I'm just getting a drink of water. If you have questions for me, I'd love to answer them, and I will see you in 10 minutes. Yeah.
Sailboat.
Yeah, I already got the sailboat shots already.
Yep, there they go.
Excuse me, sir.
Alright, so over on the right-hand side, we're coming up to another island. It is known as Mackworth Island, and it is really great. It was once owned by Governor Percival Baxter. He actually owned Baxter State Park over up north. So if you know of that, he also had his history and hand in that. So when he was ready to relinquish Baxter State Park to the rest of the state, he had 3 wishes. His first wish is that it would remain open to the public year-round, which it totally is. You can go visit any time, even in the dead of winter. There's actually a causeway that gets you out to this island. So even at high tide, you can still go there and not worry about your tide washing away your car or anything like that. His second wish is that he had a daughter who was deaf and hard of hearing. So he wanted this school for the deaf and hard of hearing to remain on the island, which it still is. And then he has a third, or he had a third weird and wacky wish. hats, folks, and here we go. We're hopefully going to see a couple of seabirds. I don't want to say the word before I see it because I don't want to get the hopes up of the younger people and the babies, but maybe we'll see some S-E-A-L, but can't promise anything. I really don't like to promise anything, but we will see what we see. Just stay in your seats. Hopefully everyone will get a chance to see them. If they're there, the job is a nice job by slowly steering past, so see what's here today. So this rock is known as Halfway Rock because it's halfway between the city of Portland and then Little Diamond Island. So I can definitely see a bunch of cormorants out on the rock today. Oh, I see a seal's head in the water, right by that, by the rock. I see him swimming. He just went under. So if you want to keep an eye out for the seals, someone was asking, is that a seal? Or is that something else? I can see his head right there.
There is one right there.
Okay, 2 seals. Oh my gosh,
Right
3
there.
seals! Oh my god, I see a head. It's so
Looks like
cute.
my dog.
Yes, someone just said they look like a dog in the water. So we actually, our baseball
one.
team is the Sea Dogs. So it looks like the dog without the big floppy ears in the water. So we can smell that rock too. Sorry about that, folks. Yeah.
Salt
That's the
air.
cormorant fault. They're really good ocean divers. But when the... Oh, he's so cute. So he's coming up and down. The seals can weigh between 150 and 375 pounds. Just like people. So, yeah, they are just adorable. Sometimes they will actually beach themselves on that rock. So they will use the ocean and the tide will just deposit them on the rock. They kind of look like
Did you see the
rock
seals?
ants.
Yeah, I already. They're
Oh, they're better.
underwater. I already photographed.
No, it's over there. There's one.
What is a seal's favorite subject in school? It's art. And they're giving you their seal of approval today, because we don't always see them. They follow the fish, so where the fish go, they go. Oh, he's doing a big splash. Yeah, so I can count 3, 1, 2, 3. Playing around by the rock. Over there you can see all those blackbirds or the cormorants. They can dive up to 90 feet to secure their prey. They're the best working fishermen out there, so don't tell the fishermen. Their feathers actually absorb water. If you looked at a picture of their feathers, they actually have barbs on the ends of them. They kind of absorb that water, but then when it really doesn't get into that inner fluff, they stay dry underneath there. But afterwards, they actually have to dry themselves off. So perch on the rock, spread their wings like Batman, and then sun themselves. Yeah, so it's a moderately sunny day, so it's probably out there after their big 90-foot dive into the water for the fish. They can eat, again, 3 to 5 times their own body weight in fresh fish. Just think about that. That's a lot of fish. Alright, so as we make our way from the rock back to Portland, I do want to talk about my favorite topic. Can anyone guess what it is? It's another animal. It's very abundant here in the state. Yes, it is lobster, folks. Who's had lobster here in Maine? Alright, nice. Who wants more lobster? I wish it wasn't so expensive. So I can tell you more about where I would suggest the lobster roll, but a little bit about lobster history and how to become a lobster vet. See the app right around there is a tripod-like structure. So, in World War II, heavily used 6 Portland House. It's the second tallest building here in the state of Maine. I think Vermont is a little bit shorter, but just imagine that. Second tallest, that's 15 stories tall. Also just want to mention this cute little tugboat off on our right-hand side. Doesn't look like all the rest. All the other ones are sailboats. This is a little Nordic tug. I just think it's adorable. It's owned by one of our captains. I think that's just the cutest boat. So as we make our way through here, you'll be able to see the Eastern Promenade. You can actually see the narrow gauge railroad and the train steaming on through here to the other side. You can see some sailboats as well.
It's coming up.
seals and eagles a little more money, I think. But we did get to see a little bit of swimming action anyway. I hope you have a great rest of your day here. And we are now tied securely to the dock, so please feel free to exit as you choose. And thank you again for joining us.
Kahit na. Kahit na. Excuse me.
I'm in no rush.
Excuse me. Oh, see, there's a restroom.